Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I'm showing you a new supporter card from Guardians Rising, the next Pokémon trading card game expansion. It is Mallow. Now, Mallow, for those of you that don't play the games, she is one of the captains who have essentially replaced the gym leaders, and she even registers Stoutland in your ride pager. Thanks to her, you can ride Stoutland around if you want to. I was never that. I rode Stoutland like twice, and that's when they made me to find stuff. Anyway, this is essentially a reprint of Oracle from Skyridge. For those of you that were playing back then, I personally wasn't, but most of these new supporters are a reprint of something. Now, what does Mallow do? She allows you to search your deck for any two cards and put them on the top of your deck. Now, searching for cards is always good. Look at things like Talonflame's Aero Blitz or the Ace Spec computer search, which obviously saw a lot of play and still does in Expanded. The problem here being that you don't actually get these cards right away. So your opponent, just like after you use an Aero Blitz, is going to want to make you shuffle your deck so those cards are no longer on top to help you out. They're going to want to play things like Judge or Red Card or most likely N so that you shuffle your deck and you no longer have those cards on top of your deck. So the question is, I need to immediately draw these cards. How do I do so? Well, the first thing, and this might seem obvious, don't play a supporter. Don't play a Sycamore or something like that. And I know that sounds obvious, but we all know we will see games lost this way, Jake. Double supportering Jake because you really want those cards and you're not thinking clearly. We've all done it, haven't we, Jake? Now, what options do we have? Well, first of all, we've got the draw X number of cards. So, Orangaroo, the basic who allows you to draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand. A good option here, although you would have to have a very low hand size to use it. We've got Octillery, who allows you to draw until you've got 5 cards in hand. But of course, it's a stage 1 water Pokemon. It's not going to be played in all that many decks. But in decks where you are playing Octillery, maybe something like Greninja or Volcanion, where it has seen a little bit of play, it's a brilliant option. Of course, the main option along these lines is Shaman. Clearly, the option here is Shaman. Draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. It's a basic. It's being played in 95% of all decks, or at least competitive decks at the moment. Shaman is the boy. Now, I know not every deck is playing Shaman, but in decks that aren't playing cards like Shaman, maybe Mallow just shouldn't see a lot of play. Now, there are some options other than Shaman. We've got Paint Roller. Anyone remember that this is a card? It sees next to no play. It sees very, very little play. And remember that you can only play it where there is a stadium card in play, but then you draw a card. Because it reads discard any stadium in play, then draw a card. Ruling-wise, if there's no stadium in play, you cannot discard a stadium, so you cannot draw a card after discarding a stadium, because you haven't discarded a stadium. I do hope that made sense. Now, here's the deal with Paint Roller. Most of the time there's going to be a stadium in play, but half the time it's going to be your stadium that you're going to really want to keep. And let's face it, it's only 1 card, not the 2 that you really need. Not a huge fan of Paint Roller, but it's an option. How about Acrobike? Now, there's one thing I really like about Acrobike. This is draw 1 card, discard the other of the top 2 cards on your deck. What you could do here is actually play around, so you discard a card that you want to discard, and draw a card. So to take a simple example, let's take Vespiquen. You want to get all of your Pokemon in the discard pile. So what you do is you play Mallow, put something like a double colourless energy on top of your deck, because this is what Mallow's going to be primarily good for, those hard to search for cards, and special energy are the ones, because it's really difficult to search for special energy. So what you do is you put a double colourless on top of your deck, along with a Pokemon you don't want to use. I don't know, let's say Klefki, because you're not playing against a Mega deck. You play Acrobike, you draw the double colourless, you discard the Klefki because you don't want him in your deck, and now you've actually achieved 2 different aims through the use of your Mallow supporter card. Now the problem here is you've got to have Acrobike in your hand the same turn you have Mallow in your hand. Not the easiest combo to pull off. Really here, you want something like an Orangaroo, because then you know you're going to be able to draw cards. Of course, as I've said, if you've got too many cards in hand, Orangaroo won't work. Now, he doesn't get his own video today, but there is an Alolan Sandslash coming. The ability just reads, once per turn, draw a card. Now, if you can get a couple of Alolan Sandslashes on the field, well, that's amazing, because then you can just instantly draw those 2 cards. Big problem with this, of course, it's 2 Stage 1 Water Pokemon. And if we didn't like Octillery for being 1 Stage 1 Water Pokemon, Alolan Sandslash isn't looking a huge amount better. So, you do need to make sure you can draw the extra cards with this. And we've got a whole bunch of options, and there are likely to be more released in the future. But make no mistake about it, this is an awesome supporter. Now the main use is just going to be searching your deck. Searching for a supporter card for next turn, searching for a double colourless energy, searching for that stadium, whatever it is, whatever you can't search for, that's what you're using Mallow for. And it's often going to be a 1 or 2 of in your deck, at least for the time being, because this is not an every turn supporter, not unless you can guarantee you're drawing 2 cards. So, Versus Seeker here, so you put it in the discard, use it as and when you want, makes more sense. Now there are a couple of other niche uses for this. You could use it with something like Max Elixir to guarantee that you've got an energy card on top of your deck, so you know you're going to hit the Max Elixir. Seems a little over the top using your 1 supporter for the turn just to make sure you hit the Max Elixir, when to be honest, if you're playing Max Elixir, you should really be playing it in a deck where you've got a decent chance of hitting it anyway. The more exciting use is Pokemon like Typhlosion. You can guarantee that you've got 2 energy cards on the top of your deck here. So you can guarantee you're hitting for 160 with Typhlosion, and that's if the other 4 cards all aren't energy cards. And sometimes they will be energy cards. So if one of the next 4 is an energy card, then you're actually rocking 240 damage here. This could make Typhlosion much better. He does only attack for a single fire, but he is a stage 2. I fear he's still a little clunky. A lot of people like Typhlosion. I've got a whole bunch of comments. He will get his own video eventually because he is kinda cool. But if you want to play Typhlosion, Mallow helps. So, let's give Mallow 4 Wassies. I want to lean towards 5 Wassies here, but you know what? If you can't draw those extra 2 cards, it's not great. Something like Sycamore, which you definitely want to use every single turn, mostly, it's a 5 Wossie card. Something like Mallow, some turns it will be the best card ever, other turns you'll just wish for something like a Sycamore, so it comes in at 4. But if you want to argue, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the comment section is there for. Go nuts! Be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. Click them both, although, just so we're clear, if you've already subscribed, please don't push the subscribe button again, because that unsubscribes, and that makes me a sad panda. You can follow me on Twitter, @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.